Well, with more and more Americans heading toward retirement, you want to make sure you have all the money you can available to you. We're happy to welcome back Kristen Afe-Lumo with HerPlanning to talk about keeping that 401k money. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
All right, so if you aren't retiring, how important is it that you're able to manage your 401k money?
Really important that you keep track of where your retirement money is. So most of the time when you leave a job, you'll get a notice from the 401k provider about what's going to happen to your 401k within 30 days. So some 401ks give you the option to leave the money there. Otherwise, there's a few other options of what you can do with it.
So what are some of your suggestions?
So most of the time, if you're going to a new employer that has a 401k, it makes sense to just move that money, roll it over from the old 401k to the new one. In some cases, it might make more sense to take cash out. It might make some sense to do what's called a Roth conversion. So it sort of depends on how close you are to retirement, how much of your money is being taxed already. There's a lot of of things to think about.
How are you able to assess what's the best particular fit for yourself?
So I would, of course, talk to a financial planner. That's my #1 recommendation. But you also can talk to the provider at the 401k company. So let's pretend it's at Fidelity. You can call and talk to one of their reps and get their feedback on what the consequences are for each different type of transaction.
So when you're helping people, what are some of the big challenges they face during this process that people at home may want to know?
Not knowing what the process is, and every company has a different process. So that's why it's important to wait till you get that packet in the mail. A lot of times when you're terminated employment from your old company that you've worked for, they'll put a packet together for you, or they'll send you just a bunch of stuff via email. You really have to read through all that to figure out what to do. But one thing that's been really interesting that people have been doing lately is taking cash out of their 401ks to pay off high interest credit card debt. Not something I've seen a lot of in the last few years, but with interest rates going up, people are really more interested in having the cash on hand. So in some instances, that does make some sense. If the interest rates are, let's say, north of 15, 20%, something to think about.
What is your advice, though? Because, you know, most people want to retire one day.
Right.
Are you telling people at home, don't do that? Don't mess with that money?
I'm telling people don't mess with that money, but I have experienced a lot of clients come to me and say, hey, you know, I've got a 30% interest rate on my credit card, and they're thinking through, if I pay the 10% penalty because I'm not 59 and a half, then I also pay taxes on this money. Let's say it's 25% that they'll end up having to take a haircut of their funds. For some people, it's worth it to have to pay off credit card debt. But for most people, they're not really interested in paying the taxes and a 10% penalty to get access to those traditional funds in their 401k. So most of the time, you're just going to put it in either a traditional IRA or the next company's 401k plan.
All right, Kristen Afe-Lumo, great advice as always.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us.